Welcome back to Game Points. I am your host, Matthew Ross. A special time due to the Irish Embassy Habs pregame show coming up in about 25 minutes down from the Fan Jam outside the Bell Center. Go on, say hello to Abe Hefter, Robin Flynn, Joey Elias are there. Of course, we'll have your Delmore postgame show as well after the broadcast that will feature John Bartlett, as always, and Sergio Momesso. But right now, we're going to talk some other NHL action as well as we also monitor Boston-Detroit. 10:40 remaining in the second period there. Still 2-0 right now. Bruins over the Red Wings. And, of course, the Red Wings won Game 1. All right, let's get to a friend of the program here. You can follow him on twitter.com/MayorNHL. You can also check out mayorsmanor.com for the latest on the NHL, as well as a concentration, surely, on the West Coast where he is as well. It is John Hoven. How you doing, John?
I'm knee-deep in deviled eggs. I'm doing great. How are you?
Should I ask?
Easter, man. Come on.
All right, just checking. I'm on the Passover side, but I certainly have an appreciation for what's happening this weekend with the Easter. I just saw somebody tweet this. Jay Jaffe from SI, baseball writer, retweeted it. Know what you call Passover analytics. Seder metrics. I like that. Very good.
There you go. That's geek humor right there.
Yeah. Now, John, I'm so hyped for this Game 2 tonight with San Jose and LA. Obviously, Game 1 didn't essentially live up to it. It looked like the Sharks had a lot of pent-up emotion and frustration and really wanted to take it out on the Kings. Game 2 will be very interesting, and I think a lot of people expect it to be very close.
Game 2 is going to be completely different, and I think you're right. There was a lot of pent-up aggression and emotion there with the San Jose Sharks. Obviously, the Kings captain Dustin Brown took out rookie Tomas Hertl earlier in the year. Sharks were upset about that. Hertl was upset about that. You knew the Sharks were going to come out quick, fast, strong, and with a lot of energy there in the first couple of minutes, and they certainly did that. So the goal by Joe Thornton wasn't, I would say, too much of a concern in the sense that you almost had to expect that. But things really unraveled in the final minute of the first period. It looked like the Kings were going to go into the locker room trailing 1-0, and then you really never know what would have happened over the final 40 minutes. But instead, you blink, 2 goals by the Sharks, and really the train was off the tracks at that point, and so it was a difficult game from that point forward. So I would expect a low-scoring affair and a much different-looking game tonight.
A lot of people coming into the series talked about the goaltending advantage, Quick over Niemi, and obviously Niemi struggled a little bit down the stretch, but he played very well the first couple of periods. Of course, the Kings rallied late in that game. Do you expect this goaltending battle to tip tonight in favor of Quick as a rebound?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm on record as saying that I think Jonathan Quick will pitch a shutout tonight. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. That's how he rolls. And when you look at the different aspects of this matchup, and you want to talk defense or you want to talk offense, the centers, the depth scoring, you can debate all those differences between the Kings and the Sharks. There really is no debating. Forget Game 1. There's no debating who the better goaltender is in this series. Jonathan Quick is the best goaltender in the National Hockey League, and if you don't believe that, you can at least agree that he's one of the top 3. So it's really no question, and really ultimately I think that's how this series is going to end up playing out, is I think that the one advantage that the Kings clearly have over the Sharks would be in net. And that's what we'll see play out here over this, what probably is going to end up being a long series. Everybody had it pegged 6 or 7 games coming in, and if the Kings have an opportunity to tie the game up tonight, that's great. But I wouldn't consider this a must-win.
Right.
Even if they were to drop tonight's game, you have to figure they're going to win both games at home, and the series will be tied after 4, which, again, will push this to a long series.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus, is that it's going to be difficult for San Jose to win in L.A. I love the beat L.A. chance in Game 1. Nice animosity with this new format. You see these types of teams playing in the first round, which is amazing. But a couple of sort of variables, if you will, in this series. Everyone as well acknowledges that the depth, having guys like Toffoli and Brown, even on like a third line, just tremendous depth for the LA Kings here, perhaps even more so over San Jose. But a couple of variables here which I was interested in that first game. Torres, Havlat, Hertl, all contributing quite well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They were getting goals from guys they needed to get some goals from. On the LA side, it was nice to see some offense being generated from the defensive side of things. A couple of defensemen getting goals there in the third period. I'm also a little bit curious about the fact that Coach Daryl Sutter didn't make a change, or doesn't appear that he's making a change on the defensive side of things for tonight. I would have expected Matt Green, who gives them a little bit more toughness, into the lineup. The Sharks clearly had a game plan. They wanted to push around Drew Doughty. They wanted to push around Anze Kopitar in the first period, if not throughout the entire game there in Game 1. So I thought that the mean, tough, approach that Matt Green provides would have been inserted back into the lineup tonight. The question then becomes, who do you yank out? I wouldn't have moved out Muzzin or Martinez because they're both puck movers who give you a little bit of speed, which is something LA is going to need against San Jose. So I probably would have replaced Robin Regeer, who had a really tough game. And, you're not giving up speed by replacing Regeer with Matt Green. So barring a last-minute change, and anybody who's followed Coach Daryl Sutter through the years knows that nothing is official until the song plays. So there's still a possibility that we'll see Matt Green in the lineup tonight on the Kings blue line.
Chatting with John Hoven from mayorsmanor.com, Mayor NHL on Twitter. Elsewhere in the NHL, John, Philly evens their series today against the Rangers. They get 4 unanswered goals. They win 4-2. Ray Emery, the star of the game. I had Philadelphia winning this series basically because of Steve Mason. I missed that report on him missing the early part of this series. But if Emery plays that way, do you still weigh towards the Flyers, or who did you have and who do you now have in that series?
Yeah, all great questions. I did have the Flyers as well winning that series. I thought it was going to go 7 games, and it was really probably the series I was most looking forward to in the first round, especially on the Eastern Conference side. Just what a battle. 2 teams like the Kings and Sharks that have played each other a ton of times through the years and really don't like each other, to a man. So I had the Flyers winning. I thought that they were a little bit more dynamic offensively. Of course, Lundqvist is one of the elite goaltenders in the NHL, but I just felt that the Flyers had a little bit more to give and loved the coaching job that Berube and Ian LePerriere have done there since, taking over early in the season. So dropping Game 1 obviously was a concern if you had the Flyers winning that series, but what a win, today for them to come back and kind of break that jinx. The thing that I would be concerned about now if I'm the Philadelphia Flyers is a little bit of a letdown. They were able to get that big win. Everybody had been talking about they can't win in MSG. They can't win in New York. They're 0 for 9, and Drew hasn't had goals in X number of games. Now the monkey's off their back, but you can't take your foot off the gas. You need to go into Game 3, back home in Philly, be just as aggressive, and play that brand of hockey that, really worked for them over the last 6 or 8 weeks. If they can do that, I think they can probably take a commanding lead. And what an emotional letdown for the Rangers, who had an opportunity to win that game and really, quite honestly, let the Flyers off the hook.
Just an update in Boston, still 2-0. Bruins over the Red Wings, 7:15 remaining in the second period there. So the Bruins trying to tie up that series. I had Boston in 7. I thought, John, that Detroit would put up a tough fight there, and that's what we're seeing. I still like Boston in 7.
I had Boston in 5 games. My predictions for that series and the Anaheim-Dallas series were the 2 series that I wrote about, and we have the predictions up on LAKings.com for a 4-on-4 piece that we did recently. I just thought that the inexperience of all those young players in the Detroit lineup, they've had so many injuries and so many challenges, and, of course, hats off to Mike Babcock for the job that he's done this year. However, I just felt the Bruins top to bottom.
Now, Boston.
I mean, that is just one bad team, and bad in the good sense. Those are the bad boys of Boston. I just expected the Bruins to be able to take that series in 5 games, and today is so far playing out pretty much as I expected. Great for the Red Wings. They were able to get a win in Game 1. That'll just get under the skin of Boston. They'll take care of business here, tie this series up, and then I could see them steamrolling the Red Wings from here forward.
As you were chatting here, Detroit's just pulled to within 1 goal. So 2-1. Helm a shot on net. I'm trying to see who tipped it in front. One of the unsungs, Glendening. So there you go. So it's 2-1 now, Boston there. Elsewhere, John, the Chicago series is befuddling to a lot out there. Obviously, 2 very, very close games. But now they lose Seabrook for 3 games. Can the Blackhawks sweep those home games?
They can. I mean, you just look at the success the Blackhawks have had, and that's a core group, very similar to the LA Kings in the sense that it's a core group of guys that have been together for a really long time. They know the good times. They know the bad times. They know what it takes to win. So a lot of similarities there between those 2 teams, and certainly Chicago can come out and do that. Losing Seabrook is going to be, a major problem for them. He's definitely, a key component in their lineup, It's something they can rally around, though. They can use it as motivation. But on the flip side of that, St. Louis really has a swagger about them right now because they've been able to kind of pull a couple rabbits out of the hat. Chicago certainly could be up in the series 2-0 as easily as the Blues are up in this series right now. You know, everybody knows triple overtime in the first game, and when a playoff game goes to overtime, it doesn't really matter what happened in the regular season. It doesn't even really matter what happened in that game. When a playoff game goes to overtime, anything can happen. Stretches out to triple overtime in the first game. Steve Ott helped set one up, so that's a good acquisition for them, along with Ryan Miller around the trade deadline. And then you go to Game 2, and St. Louis ends up getting another game winner in overtime. So the Blues have not dominated the Blackhawks. So yes, the Blackhawks can absolutely claw their way back into this series and tie things up by getting a couple wins there in Chicago.
All right, elsewhere, I actually picked Minnesota in 7 over Colorado, and I almost threw something at the TV when Minnesota lost that game when I knew that was my shot. I think Colorado's getting more and more confidence. The youngsters are getting more and more comfortable in the playoffs. I did like the leadership of guys like Parise and Suter on the Minnesota side of things now, but it looks like a freight train with the way that Colorado's playing.
You know, you took the words right out of my mouth. Actually, I agree with you. I had Minnesota winning that series probably in 6 or 7 games. I like the leadership that they had from some of their veterans. You mentioned a couple of guys. There are some other some other guys on that club as well. I'm a huge Charlie Coyle guy. I love what he brings to the team. And no matter who you put in net there for Minnesota, they always seem to rise to the occasion. So you get a guy like Darcy Kemper from the ECHL, worked his way up from, really the lowest rung of professional hockey, and now he's playing in the National Hockey League. Mm-hmm. Not a problem there. And you're talking about Patrick Waugh over on the other side, who, of course, is going to win the Jack Adams for Coach of the Year. Outstanding job, but in the regular season, but didn't expect his kids to shine the way that they have, and like you said, really steamrolling and gaining confidence now. Just look at Nate McKinnon. He's the story of the series as far as I'm concerned. It's great that Stasny's having a great series and all that other sort of stuff, but, guys, we're talking about an 18-year-old kid who is playing like he's Mark Messier out there. It's just unbelievable to see what McKinnon, who will end up with the Calder Trophy, has been able to do as a teenager in the National Hockey League. Absolutely unbelievable and just amazing to watch. Amazing,
because a lot of people thought that they should have taken Seth Jones, but it turns out to be obviously a great move by Colorado. But just before we let you go here, John, wanted to get your quick take on the Canadiens Lightning series, which of course will get back underway later today.
I guess I'm going to get a lot of hate mail from people in Montreal because I'm not really a big Carey Price guy. I've never really believed in him. Even when you look at his playoff record, he had some success early on, and so when you remove, I think it's the first 7 or 8 games, and you look, it's something ridiculous. I don't have the stats in front of me. I apologize. Too many Easter eggs today. Something like 4-12 or 4-18 over the last run there. I mean, it's just really horrific, and just have never been that impressed with Carey Price. So I actually expected Tampa to give them a much better run than what they were able to give. Montreal has really looked apart. They've been able to get some scoring, timely scoring, and control, both of those games there. Certainly if Tampa had their goaltender in Ben Bishop, perhaps things would be a little bit different. They were playing better when he was in the net, but let's give all the credit to Montreal. So far, they went down, did what they needed to do, took care of business, picked up both games there, and then we'll see what they can do in Game 3. It's different. I think in this particular situation, home ice might be a disadvantage for a team like Montreal because they return home and there's a ton more pressure. They can play loose when they're out there on the road. Certain teams, they thrive on that home atmosphere, like the Sharks. They love the energy that they get. For Montreal or teams like Toronto or even Vancouver, the pressure from the media and from the fans and just from the community in general can be overwhelming. So it'll be interesting to see if Tampa Bay can take advantage of that.
Yeah, we don't talk much Habs here. There's really not a lot of heat on them. John Hoven from mayorsmanor.com. Don't forget Mayor NHL as well. Great follow on Twitter. Enjoy the games this evening, and thanks so much.
Look forward to talking to you. Have a great weekend.
All right, go digest those eggs. It is John Hoven from mayorsmanor.com. It is Game Points. Final moments here on the show. We're here till the top of the hour. Then it's your Irish Embassy pregame show live from the Fan Jam outside the Bell Center. Abe Hefter, Robin Flynn, Joey Elias and company. But first, we'll talk with somebody who's down there. Want to get the vibe, want to get the sense of what people are saying, thinking, walking around with. Is it a jersey, a sign? We'll get that next. Stay tuned.